Forum is a live Bible questions and answers program. What kind of Bible question do you have? What subject is of concern to you? Well, this is a program designed to offer you the opportunity to call in and ask questions or comments relating to the Bible. Our host and Bible teacher, Chris McCann, will respond by going to the Bible, the infallible Word of God. Our program is hosted Monday through Friday beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Sundays, it begins at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Call our toll-free number at 888-969-9883. Again, that's 888-969-9883. There will be someone there to answer your call and give you simple instructions to be on the program. You can also join through Zoom video by going to ebiblefellowship.org and clicking the icon at the top. If you're calling in from another country, select the International toll-free button to find your country's number.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to E-Bible Fellowship's new open forum program. During this time, we're going to open up the phone line to take your call, and each person is invited to give us a call if you have a question or a comment that you would like to make, and I'll try to respond by going to the Bible, as the Bible is the authority. It directs us, it controls us. Well, it is God whose word is the Bible. And what God has said in his word, the Bible, is the commandment that the child of God follows. He directs our lives, and God directs our lives not in some kind of mystical, subliminal way, but he directs our lives through the written word as we study it and we learn the truth. Doctrine is developed, and that's teaching of the Bible, and the teaching of the Bible gives us understanding, insight into a great many things in life and what we are to do and how we are even to do it in the manner that we are to live. And so a lot of people speak about following Jesus and loving Jesus, and yet it's basically, for many, unfortunately, a Jesus of their own making in their own mind. But that's not true for the people of God. Jesus, the Word, reveals what he would have us to do in the Bible. And when we do it, we are following him. That's exactly how we take up our cross and follow him. The scripture will guide us and direct us, and our identification with the Bible will result typically in affliction, in tribulation, as forces come against that relationship that God has begun with us. There will be suffering and cross-bearing. Okay, if anyone has a question on social media, you can enter it into the chat. Right now we have no callers, so we're going to play a hymn, and then we'll come back after that.
Once far from God and dead in sin, no light my heart could God's word, the light I found. Now Christ liveth in me. Christ liveth in me. Christ liveth in me. Oh, what a salvation this, that Christ liveth in me. As rays of light from yonder sun, the flowers of earth set free, so life and light and love came forth from Christ living in me. Christ liveth in me. Christ liveth in me. Oh, what a salvation this, that Christ liveth in me. As lives the flower within the seed, as in the cone the tree, so praise the God of truth and grace, His Spirit dwelleth in me. Christ liveth in me. Christ liveth in me. Oh, what a salvation this, that Christ liveth in me. With longing all my heart is filled, that like Him I may be, as on the wondrous thought I dwell, that Christ liveth in me. Christ liveth in me. Christ liveth in me. Oh, what a salvation this, that Christ liveth in me. Christ liveth in me. Christ liveth in me. Oh, what a salvation this, that Christ liveth in me. And that was once again, Christ liveth in me. Well,
All right, let's go to the first person on the phone tonight. Welcome to our program. Please go ahead with your call.
Hey, Chris. I hope everything's going well with you tonight.
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. I have a question, and tell me if this is too many verses. 1 Kings 13, 18 to 24.
No, that's fine. First Kings 13,
Yes.
18 through 24. 1 Kings 13, verse 18. He said unto him, I am a prophet also. Oh, this is the man of God. He said unto him, I am a prophet also as thou art. And an angel spake unto me by the word of Jehovah, saying, bring him back with thee into thine house, that he may eat bread and drink water. But he lied unto him. So he went back with him, and did eat bread in his house, and drank water. And it came to pass, as they sat at the table, that the word of Jehovah came unto the prophet that brought him back. And he cried unto the man of God that came from Judah, saying, Thus saith Jehovah, for as much as thou hast disobeyed the mouth of Jehovah, and hast not kept the commandment which Jehovah thy God commanded thee, but camest back and hast eaten bread and drunk water in the place of the which Jehovah did say to thee, Eat no bread and drink no water, thy carcass shall not come unto the sepulchre of thy fathers. And it came to pass, after he had eaten bread, and after he had drunk, that he saddled for him the ass, to wit, for the prophet whom he had brought back. And when he was gone, a lion met him by the way, and slew him, and his carcass was cast in the way, and the ass stood by it. The lion also stood by the carcass.
Okay, so the man of God, he meets up with this prophet who deceives him. He says he's a prophet. Obviously, he lies to him. He said, God told me, to meet you and to come back with me after God told him to go straight out of there, right? He goes to Bethel. He says what he has to say. He pronounces the judgment. And, that whole thing happens with Jeroboam and the leper's hand. And then he meets this prophet, right? And he says at first he's very faithful, and he refuses to go back with Jeroboam. He does what God tells him to do. He starts back, right? He's been faithful all along, but now, right, he's convinced and he's deceived by this prophet. So he goes back with him and he eats and he drinks in his house. And the next thing you know, as he's leaving and he's on this ass, he's met by this lion. This lion apparently kills him, but doesn't completely consume him because his carcass is laying there in the street. And then his ass is just standing there. So I wanted to get a little bit more of the context on this because I'm thinking to myself, is the man of God, because he went back, is he a picture of maybe those that were proclaiming, they were proclaiming judgment, right, before May 21, but they went back after they were told after May 21, you know what I'm saying? And like when I look at the carcass, like why wasn't the carcass consumed? The lion is standing there, so I'm thinking the lion is God, right? And this is the judgment of God. And the ass, the only thing you think about the ass is maybe there as a witness, like the witness of man to God's judgment. Does any of that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think you pretty much understand it. I mean, it's repeated over and over, man of God, man of God. And
Right.
He appears very faithful at first. Actually, throughout most of the account, we would think this is an elect child of God. God told him to do something, and he went and he did it. The preaching against Jeroboam, the really bringing a message of condemnation, and then God told him to leave. I think not by the way he came, and he does everything. He even did that. He did leave, but then there's this old prophet, and he says he's a prophet, and he is a prophet, but a false prophet. And he is a prophet of Israel, of that apostate Israel who set up their own system of worship. That's what Jeroboam did. He set up these idols so people wouldn't have to go to Jerusalem. He did it for political reasons, fearing if the people return to Jerusalem 3 times a year. Well, how long would they remain his subjects in the kingdom of Israel? They would return to the king of Judah. But the prophet is part of this apostate nation of Israel that would have to typify the apostate church. And God sends a man of God to them to pronounce judgment upon their system of worship, upon their king, and he tells them, don't eat or drink. And eating or drinking would identify with partaking of their gospel. Do not eat or drink. You go in, you do what I tell you, and you get out. And he does it all very obediently until the false prophet, this old man, comes after him and says, and he lies to him. We're told he lied in verse 18. But he lied to him, so he went back. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll read verse 18. He said unto him, I am a prophet also, as thou art. And an angel spake unto me by the word of Jehovah, saying, bring him back with thee into thine house, that he may eat bread and drink water. But he lied unto him, so he went back with him and did eat bread in his house and drank water. The lie of the prophet was believed over the commandment that God had told him, do not eat, do not drink. It's a contradiction. Of course, they had a lot more difficulty, the people of old, before the Bible was completed, in understanding or distinguishing the word of God, because, well, it's possible God could have spoken to another man, another prophet, to give him instruction, but the thing that wouldn't have happened would have been the contradiction. God told me not to eat and drink in that place. And it made sense because there was a word of condemnation. Why would you want to eat and drink there? And so the man of God falls by believing the lie of the prophet of Israel, or of the apostate church. And I think it's a warning to the elect at the time of the end, when the Lord ended the church age, and he had his people who we're all like the man of God. We're all prophets of the Lord, insofar as we speak forth the truth of the Bible, or declare in our lives, and so forth. And God had his people to witness to those in the churches. Church age is over. Church age is over. God's judgment is upon the church. But the condemnation, the wrath of God, is upon all congregations in the world. And we could have people in our family, we could have neighbors, we could have old Christian friends who we had gone to church with, and we would tell them that, and yet we would not go to their church. And God even warned in Matthew 24, he really gives a strong warning here in Matthew 24, when he commands, let those in Judea flee into the mountain. Then it says in verse 17, let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. So the housetop is a place of intense spiritual activity, and the people who came out of the church, flee Judea, flee to the mountains, continued to engage in spiritual activity, prayer, Bible reading, Bible teaching, sharing tracts. And so, yes, you're on the housetop, but do not come down to take anything out of the house. In order to take something out of the house, what would have to happen? You would have to go into the house. And
Right.
so basically, God is saying, do not go into the house. And the house would be the house of God, the church, because judgment began at the house of God. Stay out of the house. And typically, people, or you know, if anyone did go back, it had to do with their family, maybe a wife or a husband and children, things like that. And in another place in Luke, I think it speaks of your vessel is in the house. Well, why don't we go there in Luke 17? There's also a stronger warning because it mentions Lot's wife in Luke 17, in verse 31. In that day, he which shall be upon the housetop, and his stuff in the house. And the word stuff is the same as vessel, like the wife is the weaker vessel. It's that word, I believe. And so you came out, but your wife is still there. And of course, it's going to be on your mind, and trouble in the home, separate, maybe threats of separation. So it was a real testing program. His stuff in the house, let him not come down to take it away. And he that is in the field, let him likewise not return back. In the field is the world. You're out there in the world ministering the gospel. Do not go back to the house. Do not go back to the church. Remember Lot's wife. Lot's wife looked back from behind him. And historically, it would refer to Lot, but spiritually, it refers to Christ. She looked back from behind Christ to Sodom, and for a similar reason. Stuff in the house, family. Excuse me. And so God turned Lot's wife into a pillar of salt. Judgment came upon her for looking back. Now, this man of God went back. He went back, and it is I think it's a big warning to us, whether during the Great Tribulation, when some came out of the church, and maybe a couple or a few returned back. Well, it would have warned against that, and also after the tribulation ended and Judgment Day began after May 21, 2011, we've seen this same testing program only intensify,
Right. Yeah.
because now it seems like you're wrong early on. You're wrong. It wasn't Judgment Day. And then people get to thinking, well, if that's wrong, then I suppose this whole thing about the church is wrong. And they kind of meander and wander back and end up back in the pew. And no, it wasn't wrong. It wasn't wrong. And when God ends a relationship with an institution like the church, like he did Israel before it, he never rejoins it. That's it. Israel was ended, that relationship with God was ended in the first century, and it's never been joined again. God hasn't returned to Israel in any way. And when he ended the church age, that's it. It is forever. The fig tree was cursed with an eternal curse. And Jesus said, what I have done, you will do also. And so the church has been cursed with an eternal curse, or it'll last for the rest of time, and that's it. God has no relationship with any church. And that historical parable in 1 Kings 13, it's similar, I think, to Solomon. Because
Right.
what's the significance of that? of revealing, and it was one of these late end time revelations concerning Solomon. Most people thought, oh, he's a man of God. God used him to write the Bible. But at the time of the end, when God's opening up all these deep things, these great things like Christ paying for sins at the foundation of the world and annihilation and just many things, it almost doesn't seem to be on the same level. But the significance of revealing that Solomon was not saved has to do with basically, again, letting all of us know that we can't trust our works, we can't trust our maybe whatever our relationship with God we think is based on. We can only trust that God saved us through Christ, and it's a time when so many have appeared to be truly saved, only to eventually go back from the truth and go in a backward direction to the church, to the world, to former doctrine. And I think that was a warning. I think this chapter, 1 Kings 13, is also a strong warning about that.
Can I ask you also about the carcass? Like, why isn't the carcass consumed? The carcass is a diseased, dead thing, right? I think in the book of Leviticus, it talks about that a carcass is an unclean thing and it's in the way. It says that, he found it in the way, the carcass in the way. So would that just be further, you know,
Well, he's dead.
right?
He's dead, and
The
a
lion doesn't
carcass
consume it though.
indicates he's not buried,
Right.
right?
Oh,
He's
okay.
exposed. He's laying out there, which is a shameful thing.
Okay.
He should be buried, and
Right.
also it reminds us of the two witnesses. They're
Yes.
lying in the street,
Yeah.
and I think, what does it say? I think it does it say they weren't buried? Revelation 11 in, yeah,
Let's
verse
see.
9. And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. And really, this is a part of that whole idea, because this guy came from outside, but it turns out his spiritual condition is a match for those that were within Israel.
Okay.
He is also apostate. Well, right at the very end, he goes astray and reveals the heart problem, and leaving him exposed, uneaten, just kind of like this still picture with the carcass and the lion standing by. It is curious or interesting. Who does the lion represent? We know ultimately it's a judgment of God, and God can be typified by a lion. But the judgment on the church, God carried out by loosing Satan, who's
Yeah.
also typified by a lion. So I would say either way, and it's a little hard to tell, either way, God's behind it.
Right.
If it is figuring God himself, or if it's Satan, it would still be by the permissive will of God to allow Satan to be loosed and to kill this man, to overcome him, just like he overcame the whole nation of Israel.
Thank you so much, Chris. That really shed a lot of light on this.
Well, Thank you for bringing up that good passage and interesting question. Let's go now to our next caller tonight. Welcome to our question and answer program. Please go ahead with your call.
Okay, good afternoon. I have two questions, if I may.
Yes, sure.
In the end of the Church Age book, it says God speaks of 7 churches that were in existence at the time the Bible was being completed, and yet a few hundred years later, all of these churches had disappeared. Indeed, afterwards, for many hundreds of years, there was no Christian witness of any kind in the cities where these churches had been located. So how do we know that? How do we know for a few hundred years later, they completely disappeared? How do we know that?
Well, I think that would be known by secular history or church history. I don't think the Bible gets into that. It is true that, well, from all accounts, we today, Asia Minor, where those churches were, I believe some of the areas are Turkey, and it's a heavily Muslim area. So yeah, that you're making a good point. That would probably be discerned, as far as I can think, that would be understood through church history or secular history.
Okay, so we don't really know where the source is for this statement then, where it says a few hundred years later, all of these churches disappeared. We don't really know the exact source.
I don't think, well, since the Bible completed, the Lord moved John to write the book of Revelation, and the book of Revelation in the Bible was completed around 95 AD. By the end of the 1st century, there would be nothing in the Bible to show that those churches no longer were existing. It would be extra biblical sources.
Because when you
yeah, go ahead.
Because when you Google, you can't find an answer to that. You say, how do you know a few hundred years later all of these churches disappeared? There's no, you can't find anything when you Google that.
Well, I think it's a minor point that Mr. Camping was making to indicate. Now the point of that really is, okay, these churches were established and they fell. They ceased to exist. And we know that's true of churches over the church age. We have, some of us have experience with that. A church could have popped up and then gone apostate or gone astray, and then it's no longer a church of Christ. It's an apostate church, a false gospel church. And I think that would, as far as that point, that's a biblical point. And the point is, when it is said that that the church is built upon the rock, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it, and the idea is it's referring to the external churches, the Presbyterian, Lutheran, churches that are on the street corners. Well, that's just simply not true, because many churches down through history existed and ceased to exist, and or they were faithful for a time and then became unfaithful. That's probably the easier one to prove and to see that
Yeah.
that's the case. And so the point of Mr. Camping's comment, from what I can see, would be that this understanding that so many churches have, that we are the church, and that erroneous understanding of Matthew, that the gates of hell will not prevail against us, we will continue to exist. Yet many churches, even whole denominations, have either ceased to exist or fallen from the truth. And if you've fallen from the truth, you're no longer a church of Christ. And so it's just not true that churches are, they're unable to be moved, or they're historically, or that they cannot fall in one way or another. It's happened throughout the church age.
Yeah. Okay, I agree. I agree with that. Okay, I agree. But here, okay, if I may ask a second question. So let's
Yeah.
just suppose, okay, some church did decide that they agreed with this, and people stopped going there. So what would happen to the the pastor and all that? I mean, how would they survive? They got children, they got family. What are they going to do? There's nobody comes
Excuse me.
there. How are they going to survive?
Well, no one said that it was an easy commandment. That when God ended the church age, when He came and revealed through His Word, the Bible, that it was time the church had relationship with God for 1955 years. That's a long time for there to be a church age, just like Israel had about 2,000-year relationship with God prior to the church. And so when God comes to reveal, now is the time of my visitation, judgment is beginning at the house of God, that really, as from God's perspective, isn't a question. It's not an issue. It's not a matter of, the church was never designed, never instituted by God for a social society, or to employ pastors or various people. It's from God's perspective, it was a spiritual institution in which they were to take proper care of His Word and obey Him, and that was their role. That was their role, and so it would have to be, if someone's a true child of God, and the Word of God comes, and they see it in the Bible, they understand it's the time. The Lord convinces them through His Word, and they're a pastor. It is their occupation. They do have a family. Then you would have to leave. You would have to leave, and you would have to find some other kind of work to support your family. But look at the alternative. The alternative would be, well, I'm going to stay because of my family, because I need the money. And what is this information saying? Well, the information is saying the Spirit of God has departed. There's no Holy Spirit in the church, and therefore no blessing upon the word preached, and you're the preacher. So it's like you would have an intellectual understanding, head knowledge, that what I'm preaching is basically a vanity, There will be no blessing, not only on me, but my children. It's an extremely serious thing that the Lord presented to all who were in the churches, that especially those who are fathers and mothers who had concern for their children. If we stay, we like it here. We think the pastor's maybe preaching some good things, and we have friends. We're comfortable here. A whole lot of positives. But if we stay, we'll be disobedient to God, and there'll be no blessing. Isn't that ultimately the reason why people go to church, the reason why a pastor preaches, and the whole reason behind the existence of the church would be either for the blessing or the hope of God's blessing upon the hearers. But the Bible speaks of a famine of hearing that came upon the church. That is the judgment of God, not a famine of bread or of water, but of hearing the words of Jehovah. Amos 8, verse 11. And faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. If there's a famine of hearing, no one's saved. And that is what the Lord revealed. So would it be easy? No, it wouldn't be easy. But a father and a preacher who is overseeing the congregation would have a duty and responsibility. Well, congregation, he should address them. I have learned that the church age is over. I've learned that God's Spirit is not here. And even worse than that, Satan's spirit has entered into the church, and Satan has taken his seat in the temple, like it says in 2 Thessalonians 2. And to take one's seat in the Bible means to rule. He's showing himself that he is God. And therefore there is worship going on, but it's not going to God because God has left. So knowing these things, I don't see how anyone could remain, regardless of financial situation. You have to get out. Now, typically, what would happen is the pastors and the elders, I think very, very few ultimately came out of the church. They would not get to that point. They would reject the whole presentation, and they wouldn't hear it out. Maybe because deep down they realize, maybe they could look ahead and realize, well, if this is true, it definitely impacts me and my life and my family and everything that is going on right now. And so it's probably one of the reasons why they would not give it a fair hearing.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for those good questions. And let's go to the next person on the phone tonight. Welcome to our program. Please go ahead with your call. Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? You may have to hit *6 to unmute yourself.
Oh, they were unmuted, then they pressed it again. You just have to dial *6 again to unmute.
Hello?
Yes, hello. Hello, we can hear you.
Oh, all right. Yes, sir. I have a question about Leviticus chapter 16.
Excuse me, a question about who?
Leviticus.
Oh, Leviticus. Okay.
Leviticus chapter 16, on verse 8 and 10.
All right.
Who is this man Azazel?
Leviticus 16, verse 8.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
Aaron shall cast lots upon the two goats, one lot for Jehovah, and the other lot for the scapegoat. And Aaron shall bring the goat upon which Jehovah's lot fell, and offer him for a sin offering. But the goat on which the lot fell to be the scapegoat shall be presented alive before Jehovah to make an atonement with him, and to let him go for a scapegoat into the wilderness. So your question is?
Oh, well, my Bible is in Spanish, and I do have at the end of verse 8 and 10 a name, Azazel, but in English it's not in there because I have a very old English Bible, and it's also not in English, but it's in Spanish. Is something wrong in here?
What
Did
is
they
the
put
name? What
this
is the name?
A
Ezekiel?
I'll spell Azazel.
Azazel? Azazel?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
It's in my Bible on Spanish, and I have this old version.
and so it's in your Spanish Bible. Is it in your do you have an old English Bible, or it's an old Spanish Bible
Yeah,
that has that?
this is my Bible is 1906, no 1806, very old one
Uh-huh.
version.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
1569 and 1602 and 1862 and 1909 revisions.
Well, yeah, they're all Spanish, right? They're
Yes,
Reina Valera,
it
1909.
yes, that's what it is. Reina Valera.
Well, I only
But
have the I mean, I have the King James, but I have the English translation. And the only way to know for sure, I
mhm,
doubt that that word is in the original Hebrew, but I do not have the interlinear Bible with me right now to
mhm,
check and see. We do have a way of proving these things, and
mhm,
there may be differences from English to Spanish to Chinese or whatever,
mhm,
but the authority is the original languages. So I don't know if you have an interlinear Bible, but anyone could check and look in Leviticus 16 into those
mhm.
verses, and we would see if it's there or if it's not there. And my thinking is it's not there. I'm
Oh,
pretty sure about it, but I won't say that definitely. I don't think it's there, but I will check later um, when the program's over, and or maybe even we could have someone check it um,
I
and and
appreciate
and
that.
call in to let us know, because that's the authority. So if we look into the interlinear Bible, we're looking at the original, or it's a copy of the original, but it is perfect as the original. So we're looking into the
Mhm,
original Hebrew, and if it's
yes.
not there, then our Bible, whatever translation, is wrong. Our Spanish Bible, or if it was something in the English and I do not find it in the original Hebrew or Greek, then the English is wrong. So the translation is never the authority. The original languages are the authority. And that's something that we can check and prove. But again, I just don't have access to it right now.
Yes, because I have a strong concordance, and that name is not in there. That's
well, the
this
concordance.
name of a. I have a
Right.
strong concordance in Spanish, but it's the same name is not in there, and it's anywhere else in my Spanish Bible. So I was wondering, and then I checked with the English one that is also very, very old version, and it's also not there. But it says something that
Well,
they have to send
that's further further evidence that it's not in the text. But the Strong's isn't the final authority. It will be the original Hebrew that would be the final authority, and so when we check that, I'll check that after tonight's program,
please.
and I'll post it on our YouTube channel. Right. We have a community section where we post notes and things like that. So I don't think it will take long. I can quickly check, and I'll post it in the community section to say one way or another if it's there.
Yeah, I don't miss any of e-Bible programs, so I'll be looking for it forward.
Oh, good.
About that, because this is this Bible that I have is it's a very old version, and I thought I was correct, but I cannot find that name, and it's just like the offering has to send
unusual.
to that.
It's unusual. It's the first time I ever heard about this word or name in these verses.
Yes.
I'm kind of curious about it, but again, the good thing is that we do have somewhere to turn to confirm or deny, to prove or disprove, and so he's really helped us and blessed us with all these Bible help books, the Bible itself that he's given us.
Yes, sir.
Well,
but because Leviticus is already hard to understand, and then this is getting me so confused because I check usually when I don't understand on Spanish, I check it on English version. And this is the only Bible I could find on Spanish that is old version.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for calling.
I appreciate it. I look forward for and YouTube for the answer.
Yes,
if somebody knows about.
I'll try to post that as soon as I can.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And let's go now to the next person on the phone tonight. Welcome to our question and answer program. Please go ahead with your call.
Hey, Chris, Kathy in the YouTube chat would like you to compare Revelation 11:18 with Psalm 9:17.
Revelation 11:18.
Yeah, with Psalm 9:17.
Okay. Revelation 11, verse 18. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. And Psalm 9, verse 17, that says, the wicked shall be turned into hell, and all the nations that forget God.
And her question is, do these two verses represent a condition of judgment day?
Yes, yes. The word hell is Sheol, and it's the only word in the Old Testament translated as hell. It's also translated as grave or the pit. It's equally translated as hell or the grave, about 31 times each. For instance, we might read of someone like Jacob who went to the grave, and the translators, of course, knowing Jacob was a child of God, they did not translate it as hell, but and also he died. He died, and so that helps us understand that the Bible's teaching of hell is the grave. And in the New Testament, the Greek word translated hell is also one time translated as grave. So it does carry over, and the grave has to do with death. And that's what we're reading in Revelation 11, verse 18. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged. The time of the dead. I thought when Christ came, and immediately after the tribulation, the sun's darkened, the moon doesn't give its light, the stars fall, and people say that's literal. They are the timekeepers. And I thought when Christ came, there's no more time. It's the end. What is this reference to? The time of the dead, that they should be judged. It's telling us judgment day is a time period. There is time still in existence during judgment day. And that's also what we learn from Mark 13, that tells us of what happens after the tribulation. In Mark 13:24, but in those days after that tribulation. Now, let's slowly think about that. The tribulation is over, and the tribulation, again, immediately after the tribulation, according to Matthew 24, verse 29, the sun's darkened and all those things happen. Here in Mark 13:24, but in those days after that tribulation. Okay, so we have reference to a period of time called those days, when are those days taking place? After the tribulation. It's not, it doesn't say in those days of the tribulation. It doesn't say that. It says in those days after the tribulation. It's actually saying something different than Matthew 24, because in Matthew 24, immediately after the tribulation of those days. You see, it's a tribulation after the tribulation of those days. That's the 23-year, 8,400-day Great Tribulation, immediately after. But here, it's very clear. It's the tribulation of those days. So those days identify with the tribulation. In Mark 13:24, in those days, not of the tribulation, after that tribulation, the sun shall be darkened and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars of heaven shall fall, and the powers that are in heaven shall be shaken, and then shall they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. When will they see Christ coming in the clouds? In those days, a period of time, the time of the dead. Why is it called the time of the dead? Because the moment, the instant God shut the door to heaven, he sealed the fate of all humanity, every person. Our fate is fixed. There will be no change. Since May 21, 2011, when the door shut, there has been no change. There will be no change. The righteous will remain righteous. That is, the elect who became saved will stay saved, and the filthy will remain filthy, or the filthy will be filthy still. The unsaved will not be translated from their condition of darkness into the light any longer. And effectively, by shutting the door and sealing the fate of all people, God did, while we're still physically alive, God did what he had only done previously to people upon the point of their physical death. In other words, when people died throughout the history of the world, their fate was sealed, whatever condition they died in. If they died saved, well, then their spirit went to be with the Lord, and they wait the resurrection of the last day. If they died unsaved, that was it. They perished. Their thoughts are no more. They're dead. And throughout the history, or throughout, the whole New Testament era, let's just focus on that. When people died, their conditions fixed. It's fixed, and it happened to men, women, children. Men, women, children, God would allow to die, and he did not save them. And once they were dead, it was as though the door shut upon their life. You cannot enter into heaven once you died unsaved. That's it. That's it. It's over and done for you. And that's how it was for thousands of years. But it was the living in the day of salvation who had potential hope. They could have been unsaved while they physically lived, but since there was the gospel in the world, and God was saving in the church age for 1955 years, and then in the latter reign period, there was this hope that existed. Well, yeah, he's unsaved, but let's keep praying for him. Or an individual himself could pray, have mercy on me, Lord, save me, save me, save me. And there was the possibility God might save and translate the person from darkness to light. There could be movement in the individual's spiritual condition. He could receive a new born again soul. That was the wonderful thing, the great blessing the world had while the door of heaven was open in the day of salvation. But once we come to the end of the day of salvation, God shuts the door, and now what was only true in the past when people physically died is true all across the earth while we still live. And that is a big part of Judgment Day, and why it's called the time of the dead, that they should be judged. And the nations are turned into hell, into the grave. And spiritually, that's the condition of the world right now. It's the condition of hell. In the condition of hell, there is no salvation. We see that same fact with Satan and the fallen angels. They were cast down to hell and reserved unto judgment. That is, at the cross, they were, as it were, placed in this condition of hell where there would be no possibility of salvation for any of the fallen angels. Hell as a condition has that element to it. And so that's the reason for this language, that God is turning the nations into hell. But thank you for those good verses in question. We will, I think, end our program here. We don't have any other callers on the line. I would like to thank everyone for joining us and sharing your questions and comments, and especially the Bible verses we had a chance to read and consider. But we have come to the end of our program. Lord willing, we'll have another open forum tomorrow. Oh, by the way, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., we're, Lord willing, we hope to have the open forum for the Philadelphia radio station that starts at 7, goes to about 8. So if you're an early riser, please join us then. If not, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, will be the next open forum. But for now, may you have a good night, and may the Lord's perfect will be done.
Thanks again for joining us for E-Bible Fellowship's live open forum program. You can call in with your Bible questions Monday through Friday beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern Time and Sundays beginning at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, may the Lord's perfect will be done.